everybody to the December 14th, 2022, 6 p.m. open session meeting of the Ayer Affordable Housing Trust. I now get to read the wonderful message for the governor. Due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, in accordance with Chapter 22 of the Acts of 2022, suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, OML, public bodies otherwise governed by the OML are temporarily relieved from the requirement that meetings be held in public places open and physically accessible to the public, so long as measures are taken to ensure public access to the body's deliberations through adequate alternative means. This meeting will be live on Zoom. The public may participate remotely by joining Zoom meeting ID 818-0509-7403 or by calling 929-205-6099. For additional information about remote participation, please contact Alicia Hersey at ahersey@ayer.ma.us or 978-772-8220, extension 142 prior to the meeting. Thank you very much. And I happened to catch The Price is Right the other day when I was home. I almost said the lovely, but I shouldn't do that. So may I please have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Thank
Second.
you. Thank you for the second, Alicia. Thank you for the motion, Colleen. Any discussion on the agenda this evening?
Cindy and Colleen.
I'm sorry, Cindy.
It was me and Colleen.
I'm sorry, I was looking down and I'm now going to move my camera so I can see you. I was doing that by voice. Thank you, Cindy. Okay, so hearing no discussion, let's do it by roll. Cindy, how do you vote?
Aye.
Alicia? I'm sorry, Colleen?
Aye.
And James?
Aye.
And Jeff votes aye. Next is an update on the Ayer Commons Local Initiative Project. Alicia, I think that's you. You're on mute, please.
Sorry about that. Can I have you guys approve the minutes before we go forward so that they're done?
Make a motion that the minutes be approved as written.
We have a second, please.
Second.
Thank you. So we have a motion by James and a second by Colleen. Any discussion? If I may, James, when you were coming on, we were discussing how to list Jake Driscoll as the on the minutes. I'm sensitive to Jake being listed as absent for as many meetings as he is. So I suggested that we put next to his name deployed.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea for anyone that's looking on that's not a part of this group. They would understand that.
Mm-hmm. And if Jake goes on, and I hope he does stay involved in the future, no one can beat him up 5 years from now for being absent to half a dozen meetings or whatever it is. So thank you very much.
Yeah,
So
let them beat up the government.
So with that being said, I'll ask a roll call. Cindy, how do you vote?
Aye.
Colleen?
Aye.
James?
Aye.
And Jeff votes aye, so the meetings are accepted with the one change. We'll put deployed next to his name. Fantastic, thank you. Okay, Alicia, you got what you wanted. Now we got to hear from you.
Okay, so we have heard back from the consultant that the town hired on the oh, no, I'm having a senior moment here. On the response to the waiver requests and the application request for the ZBA. And I have a copy of that in my office. It will be presented to the ZBA on the 22nd, which is next Wednesday, I think. And so anybody who's interested, I can send out a copy to the board if you're interested in seeing that. I can do that tomorrow. So, and I'm just forgetting the term that they call this, but it's a response. It's the town's response. It is a draft decision and for the ZBA with what they're looking for to be done. In other words, any requests they have will be in there and things like that.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
So the application is in front of the ZBA
Okay.
for the 40B. And this is, we have a consultant who has drafted a response for the ZBA. And he's taking it in front of the ZBA next Wednesday and he's listened into all the meetings and all the requests that they've had. And put that into a formal letter of response. And I'll send it out to you because I know that we've been so involved in this, and I'll send it out to the housing committee as well. And I'll also note that that's going to be happening next Wednesday. You don't have to be there, but it's always good for us to know how things are going. And the other one that I wanted to mention, because I don't think we've met since the town meeting, but the last ZBA meeting, it was the same time Alan was doing the pocket park thing, so it was a big conflict for everybody. But everything changed once we had that unanimous vote for the CPC money for NOAA and the 40B. The ZBA is now talking about what they want to see in the project. They're not talking about, can we stop the project? Okay, which I think is very good because we really need them working and making sure we get what we want in this discussion and in this process. And so that's what's happening on next Wednesday, the 22nd. The ZBA will be meeting and they'll be reviewing this draft response.
Fantastic. Anybody have any questions for Alicia regarding the Ayer Commons project? I do have one or two. I just want to. Yeah, Colleen, please.
So am I remembering correctly that they were going in for their first round of funding around now? And they were maybe going to hear something? Have we gotten any updates, or am I a year off? Is it next
No,
December?
you're
I just
right on.
remember
And
them
you
talking about December as one of the first
yeah,
possibilities.
you stole my thunder. Thanks, Colleen. But yes,
We're on the same
Alicia,
wavelength, Jeff.
I was going to ask that same question. Sometime in December, is when the grants, the funding rounds open up. So
Yes,
have you
and
heard? Yeah.
It just opens up. And one of the things that they've been pushing on is to not have the ZBA, extend this, though I'm guessing the ZBA might extend their review a little bit. And they had a very aggressive calendar, considering that they needed to go in front of CPC, they needed to get this done with the ZBA. And so we will find out probably whether they're going to vote on it. I'm guessing they're going to extend it, and they might have to wait for the next round. And they said there would be a mini round, I think, in the summer also. But I don't know when that application closes, so we can find out when that first application closes.
Yeah, thank you, Colleen. In talking to Mr. Giffey about this kind of on the side, and it's the formal request time is now, someday around now, but they also, the Commonwealth understands that they're in there asking, and so they're going to, my understanding is they're going to submit their request, and then as time goes by, maybe it'll get picked up between now and the next formal round, which is how things happen. And I think that's because with a 40B, they're not really locked in. If you get my drift, in the beginning, the town gave them money, which is a great sign. They've got letters of support from all the groups in town. It's just the way the calendar works with ZBA right now. So I've got my fingers crossed. I was hoping that, to mirror what Alicia said, it was almost 180-degree turnaround on the ZBA. They're now, I think I would call them friendly, and they're looking at what they can do. They just need some time to get it done. And that was really my question, Alicia. I don't know if you heard from anybody else along those lines, anybody on the ZBA along those lines. I haven't reached out to anybody to ask or speak to them about it.
I haven't spoken to anybody on the ZBA. I did talk to the administrators, both of them, Sam and Carly, and they were both in agreement that, wow, it was a productive meeting. We really talked about specific things, including one of the things that they asked for at the last meeting was Noah was saying, well, it's a state road. They can't change anything because they were talking about sidewalks and crossings there. And, but Paul Haverty said, but you can request that they do reach out to Mass DOT and try and make some changes there. So I think that will be in the draft that yes, we do want sidewalks, and please reach out, start that conversation with Mass DOT. And we do want a crossing there. So that was important. And those are the kinds of things that we do want to make sure we ask for. And Paul Haverty was very good about saying, yeah, it's not, they can't force Mass DOT, but we can require that they talk to them and get the ball rolling.
Exactly. And so that you all know, because I know you don't go to the planning board meetings. I'm going to share my screen for my other screen for just a second. What you're looking at is a picture of the Ayer Shop and Save right here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And this is the property boundaries next to the Anderson Funeral Home. Ayer Shop and Save is going to be redoing this area in their current permitting for some changes here. And they were going to stop the sidewalk right here. And we asked Mr. DiGeronimo from the Shop and Save proponent if they would seriously consider extending the sidewalk to here, which would get us a crossing that doesn't compete with the inbound, outbound, the second driveway on that property. And Mr. DiGeronimo said, why would I do that? To which I took the time to explain to him that we have 102 homes coming in over there and they might want to walk to the store.
Yeah, be nice.
Well, he's honestly used to working with Fitchburg and other towns that beat him up for everything. And this is, it's expense, but it's about 70 feet of sidewalk. And I think he's seeing it. But at least that way they can walk across the front of Anderson on the grass and cross straight into the Ayer Shop and Save. I say they, the homeowners, should they desire to. But now Mr. DiGeronimo and his daughter was there also. She's one of the business managers for the Hannaford Shop and Save group. And I think they see the value in doing that.
Good.
So even though we can't impose upon them sidewalks, we can ask them for extending along those lines. So, and the planning boards, they're interested in doing that. So we'll see what happens. It was a polite ask because the approval's already been done, and we're hoping that he'll come back with it. At least what he won't do is put any impediments in the way. There was a detention basin there and some other stuff that's now been pushed back off the road a little bit. May not be a sidewalk, but it might be a safer place to walk than in the sideline of the road.
Well,
One question, the exact address, is it in a building there now or is it vacant?
excuse me?
Is the location, I get kind of confused, the exact location where this is, I say, are they in the buildings there now or is it vacant land?
That's a good question, James, if I think I understand it correctly. And let me pull up the closest thing we have. There is no building there at this point, James.
Okay, great.
Okay, so let me do this again. I'll share the screen and it's 65, correct? Alicia,
Yes.
65 Fitchburg,
Yes.
Fitchburg. So this is the town's GIS system. So I'm gonna close this box and move back a little bit. Here's the Shop and Save.
Yes.
And 65, we call it 65 Fitchburg, which is, you see this little red line? It's kind of hard to see when I scope out a little bit.
Mhm.
And if I go out a little farther and I click on it, it's going to highlight it in blue. Unfortunately, it puts this little box above it.
Okay.
So that is what would be 65 Fitchburg Road.
Okay.
But since I'm going to stop sharing this because gets on my screen. The reason being, I can't answer the question for you, is we haven't actually seen the designs of it. My understanding is that lot next to it is also going to be part of the, in other words, Flag owns more than one lot there.
Right.
So though we say 65, I think it's multiple parcels. As a matter of fact, 3 parcels.
Okay.
And actually, this is an interesting, you know what, just because we're all kind of, you guys are, I hate to say it, old town folk. This parcel here is part of it. And if I scope in on it, see whose parking lot's sitting on the parcel?
Yes.
Without going into a description of what's going on, James, that's a little bit of a sticking point right now.
Okay.
But it should be, my understanding is those 3 parcels, they'll do what's called a 82 or 82A, where they just say, these 3 parcels become one,
Right.
and I put it on there. I hope that's clear as mud for you, sir.
It is clear. It's the old Flag property, most of all of that in that area. Okay.
And what Flag did over time was carve off pieces so we wouldn't have to pay taxes on them.
Well,
God bless
everybody-
him.
Yeah, everybody trying to save.
God bless him. You can't hate him for it. It's legal and his right to do it. Anything else, Alicia, you want to mention on the?
No. I think that's it.
Okay, great. The towns around us have heard about it, by the way. Devon's has heard about it. Harvard's heard about it, and they're all excited. Colleen, did you put your hand up? Okay, thanks. So that's it. I guess we'll move on to the review of the Ayer rental assistance guidelines and application. And I know I won't forget, but I want to say thank you to the subgroup that worked on this as hard as you did. So who's going to take the lead on that?
Did people get a chance to read it?
Mhm.
If anybody saw any changes, I didn't hear from anyone, so that I missed.
I think you got everything in there that we talked about. I think I looked at the, what had been written into the minutes, and it seemed like you had addressed everything that.
And hopefully no typos. I actually read it a couple times this time.
Well, I just want to thank you for doing all of that updating of it. I know that that's the tedious part of this particular job. So,
But you know what, especially after the first time, it was good to clean up some of the stuff, because there was little cleanups too that we didn't even talk about, that I'm like, oh my goodness, yes, we need to change that. And so it's always good to revisit. I just want to mention one thing here is I am getting unbelievable calls from Zodiac and things. I think we're going to have a lot of applications this time. I'm looking for you guys to approve the updated application and guidelines, and then talk about what we should be doing for outreach, because I put it out there that January 2nd, people are calling me, and I am not taking applications at this point, because I want updated financial information as of January 2nd. Everything gets old and we're going to hold those for 45 days. So I'm telling them that they can get an application on the 2nd of January.
Okay. Apps available January 2nd.
Yes. We can put it on the website. I've been taking names. I will send emails to everybody who's been calling me. We can do a postcard if we want to. Last time I did that through our own budget, which we totally can do.
Do we need to? I mean, if you're getting so many applications, and it's not that I don't want everybody to know about it, but do you feel like at this point we've already done a mailing? It's been out there.
I'm feeling like there's a lot of people who know about it at this point.
Yeah.
I think that maybe what we should do is our January meeting, review how many applications have been taken and how many have come back in. And then and I'll be prepared to do a postcard very quickly if that's needed at that point in time.
Okay.
It's a shame we don't have a local newspaper, honestly.
Yes, it
And-
is a shame.
And I'm going to assume that information will go on the town website and possibly the town Facebook site, which reaches out to people.
Yes.
I get more information from Alan Minoyan through the Facebook than to
Yeah.
anything else.
And that will be shared to all the community groups
Yeah.
on Facebook too, which tends
Yeah.
And
to,
when we put it on the Facebook and the town website, take it and put it on the other community Facebook pages or your, your
Yeah.
community pages, because that will get to a lot of people that way as well.
Well, let's make sure that we know when it goes out. And that, I have no problem with doing that. I share Stone Soup stuff in all those groups all the time. So I've got a huge list of places to share it. Cindy, were you gonna?
Yeah, I was gonna offer up another good way. Typically, when we're trying to get the word out to people, we put it out on both of our social media pages and send out an email blast to, I think we've got about 4,000 people signed up for that, so we can send that out too.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's important, Alicia, that we just keep track of where we sent it out to. There's always an opportunity to miss somebody. But I think just knowing what we did when we did it is going to keep us in great shape. I, of course, had some, but thank you. No, so you need a motion to accept the application and the guidelines, correct?
Mhm.
Okay, well, I would move to accept the Ayer rental assistant guidelines and application as presented at the meeting this evening.
I will second.
Okay, Colleen and James second that in stereo.
You can take Colleen.
Colleen, okay, thank you. Any further discussion on this? Hearing none. Cindy, how do you vote?
Aye.
Colleen,
Aye.
James?
Yes.
Jeff votes aye also. So again, thank you very, very much for putting that all together. Before we close this topic, something occurred to me this morning when I was thinking about this evening's meeting, and you know how hindsight's always 20/20. When we started this whole process and went to town meeting for more money, we didn't know about inflation and we didn't know about Zodiac closing. I have a feeling we're going to be inundated this year, guys. Yeah, Colleen?
And that brings up something I was gonna bring up later, maybe, or now
Now's the
seems
time.
appropriate.
Yeah.
We also have to start thinking about the CPC application for next year's funding. We had our CPC meeting last week. So I think, public hearings need to be at the first week of April meeting, which means they need to review it by March, which means they need something by February, preliminary application. So maybe that, in January, we want to start thinking about how much to ask for in terms of numbers of families. And I think having a rough idea of how many, people are asking for applications, we might be able to think about whether we need to up the amount or stuff. But anyhow, yep.
Yeah, Alicia, please.
So what I want you guys to start thinking about is there's different ways that we can spend money. One, we can, keep giving landlords money, or two, we can take a big check of money and buy a piece of land and put an RFP out there for another nonprofit affordable development that will be 100% affordable and create more units. Because that will change the whole, if there's enough units out there, then it will bring the market down. And the landlords will not be able to do this, which is, I feel, pretty almost predatory at these rental levels.
Yeah, I have to say that I have a little bit of problem with the idea of upping the number for the rental assistance. As much as I want to see us help as many people as possible, exactly what you're saying, the long-term solution is to get more units, not to keep pumping money out to landlords, whether they're predatory or not. I'm on your side with that.
I had a thought, and this is, we're starting to talk about long-term planning with the planning board, with the housing committee and all that sort of stuff. The different partners in this. And I even was talking to Alan the other day, and I said, I mean, we keep looking at open land, but what about buying something like the Devon's Plaza or something like that and putting a project there?
Well, besides the fact that the Devon's Plaza is not for sale.
I'm gonna put my toe in the water here. The Devon's Plaza was for sale up until a few months ago. It was a quiet
Yeah.
sale.
But it's not now.
Yeah. It's a balancing act right now. I do believe that the town investing in housing is the best use of our dollars going forward. And I think it's going to be the easiest, I don't want to say the easiest sell, but folks in town understand what's happening in the marketplace, and folks in town want to see us get something real for our investment. I just think we're in a position now where we're going to have to bridge it a little bit because of the shocks in the economy that happened in the last year and a half. And the shocks that have happened to our small A affordable here in town.
Yeah.
The economist in me actually wants to do a quick look at the markets and see if there is I don't want to say formula, but if there's any information out there that can help us give us some data for a guideline for this.
Well, the other part of that, Jeff, is that, I mean, and everybody, we don't necessarily want to buy land when it's at the peak of its price. I
understood. No, and I think that there are a lot of aspects to this conversation that have to be fleshed out. So that you all know, the planning board, Janet Providakis came to the planning board last evening because she wants to put together a subcommittee with the planning board and the Affordable Housing Committee to work on changing our bylaws for more inclusionary housing, for more affordable housing through our actual bylaws. We do have small adjustments we can do with proponents who come into town. We are getting a unit here, a unit there. When Stratton Hill, if it's finally approved, yeah, 11% of the units at Stratton Hill will be affordable. That's 4 units. It's not a huge drop in the bucket, but it's a drop in the bucket. And they're going to be affordable probably at 80% AMI, as opposed to 30, 50 or 80% AMI. Just given where they are. It's not an easy walk anywhere from up there, the location. But they'll be looking at our zoning, our inclusionary zoning and other things. And quite honestly, looking to have developers, and this happens in many communities, I'm not sure if you guys are aware of it, but a developer wants to build a bunch of houses in an area, he has to contribute to affordable housing. Either he's got to build housing or he's got to give money towards building housing. So it's another stream of cash. None of these are going to be solutions for what we got right now.
No.
But we got to keep building. We got to keep building the. Got to be able to keep our people in town. We got to be able to keep building the inventory, the stock of affordable housing.
So are you suggesting that, concerning this inclusionary zoning improvements or whatever we want to call it, is it being suggested that somehow the trust needs to be involved in this? Or is that at a committee?
It's at a committee level right now. And this I got real animated about it when it came up in the meeting last night. And the guardrails were thrown up real fast. Okay, and I appreciate that. And it was Ken Diskin and Janet who in stereo threw up the guardrails. So Ken's with the committee. He's on the planning board. Ken's extraordinarily interested in seeing our housing stock increase for affordable housing. So they're going to start out by looking at what we currently have. They're going to be looking at our current bylaws and coming forward with a bylaw recommendation change. And that's going to happen in a small committee that Ken and Janet. Now, I got to be honest with you guys, a bunch of our names came up and I said, I'm sure, James, I put you on the block. I'm sure James would be interested in doing this. I'm sure, I'm too busy, I can't do it, but I'm sure other people, and Colleen, I mentioned you also last night. But what they will do is, it's the kind of thing where they're going to rewrite a bylaw. So it probably makes a lot of sense for them to reach out as they need input, write the bylaw, and then bring it forward for hearings and stuff like that.
So this is a committee of the planning board. This is a subcommittee of the planning board.
It's a subcommittee that is being proposed by the Affordable Housing Committee, and in concert with the vice chair of the planning board, who's Ken Diskin right now.
Okay.
It's been known that it has to happen. But I got to tell you, between the master plan group, the planning board, watching the ZBA, being involved with the trust, there's a lot of people out there who really need, who would want to be part of it. But they got to figure out the legalese of the bylaw first, and then figure out what they want to do and how we can, and having been through multiple bylaw changes in town. And to quote Mr. Churchill, the two things you never want to see is the making of sausages and the making of laws. So let's let them wrestle that one to the ground and then call in people as they need it. But by all means, feel free to approach Janet and approach Ken about it. But they're really
Just
want to
trying
get,
to take notes.
they want to get it going by January 1st. And Jonathan Krantz, chair of planning board, he wants to be on it. I mean, a bunch of us jumped forward last night because we see it as another arrow in the quiver. So
By
yeah,
the
that
way,
happened. Go ahead.
I'm calling this new business, by the way.
Thank you.
Because we just kind of rolled into it, and it looks like we got new business and old business next agenda. So this is going to be called new business.
Thanks. And aside from the other Cindy who's here, I don't think we have anybody in for public comment tonight. So I was going to quickly pass over that. Yeah, under new and old business, anybody else have anything they want to bring up? The silence is deafening, which brings us to an upcoming meeting. If we stay with the third Wednesday of the month, that is January 18th.
Okay.
6 o'clock. Good time for folks.
I think so.
I'd like to continue with Zoom because I think it gives us a higher rate of participation. People are jetting to get home from work and stuff like that. That work for people?
It worked for me.
And I think, Colleen, you had nodding and affirmative too. I'll take that as a nod and affirmative.
Yeah, that's fine. I
Okay.
mean, I'm fine either way. I can come in, but
No,
it's
no.
definitely easier.
Colleen, we'll blame it on you. Come on.
Okay. Yes, I do have a long commute, so it is nice to stay home when I get home.
Well, I'm actually driving in from Greenfield now.
Oh, that's a drive.
Yeah, it's an hour and 17 minutes roughly.
Yeah.
But anyway, so with that, if there's nothing else going on, I've got some notes for the CPC application process for our January meeting, Alicia, for our agenda. Thank you again, Cindy, for taking the minutes and getting them out. And with that, I'd like to wish everybody a happy holiday and take a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Colleen. With that being said again, have a safe, happy holiday all, please.